2021 has seen a huge rivalry between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Seven-time F1 champion Lewis Hamilton is Formula One's biggest hotshot star, and Max Verstappen is hungrier than ever to take the top spot and become king. So stay tuned and don't go away, because today we're looking at the huge claim Red Bull is making amid the epic Formula One title fight between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, plus other related F1 news. So just how tight is the battle between Verstappen and Hamilton? The short answer is super tight. We're talking about split seconds here. Formula One experts are calling the Hamilton-Verstappen rivalry the biggest showdown in F1 over the past 10 years. Verstappen's pursuit to be king is reinvigorated and re-energizing the F1 world. After 14 years of what many have called predictable results, in reference to Hamilton's roughly 100 victories since bursting onto the F1 scene in 2007. At the US Grand Prix, two-time F1 champ Emerson Fittipaldi said, "Max is driving on the knife, and so is Lewis. Both are driving the limit. The excitement is back in Formula One." One thing that fans might not know about Hamilton is that his rise to F1 superstardom comes from very humble beginnings. In fact, Hamilton was born to working-class parents who had very little money. Hamilton's father struggled financially and was forced to work several jobs at the same time to support Lewis's junior karting career. Today, Hamilton is worth nearly $300 million and earns an annual salary of roughly $50 million. So we're sure he's repaid his father for all that he did for him. Hamilton is also Formula One's very first black driver, and unfortunately has said that he's experienced a great deal of racial abuse, rising up through the ranks of Formula One. So, considering Hamilton's struggle to rise to the top, it makes perfect sense that he wants to remain king for as long as possible. So if Max Verstappen wants to take the throne, he's gonna have a hell of a fight on his hands. At the time of this recording, Hamilton is speeding toward his 8th championship. So just how big of a champion is Lewis Hamilton? With so many wins and championship titles under his belt, Hamilton is becoming quite the celebrity. He has a massive and growing social media following, including 25 million Instagram followers and nearly 7 million followers on Twitter. Hamilton has even become a vocal anti-racism advocate. Hamilton also takes time out of his busy schedule to promote environmental sustainability and veganism. He's even used some of his earnings to start a foundation whose mandate is to create opportunities for drivers and teachers who are part of a visible minority. But on the track, Hamilton only has one mission: to secure an 8th championship victory and take the throne from Michael Schumacher and become the greatest Formula One driver in the history of the sport. And at 36 years old, it's almost time for Hamilton to hang up the helmet, so he doesn't have much time. The only thing standing in Hamilton's way is 24-year-old Max Verstappen of the Red Bull team. With the Mexican Grand Prix right around the corner, the young challenger holds a 12-point lead on Hamilton. Verstappen is willing to do whatever it takes to secure his first F1 title, and with only 5 races left in the season, it's clear that he too is running out of time. So what do we know about the young challenger vying for Hamilton's crown? Max Verstappen is Dutch, and we know that his father is former F1 driver Jos Verstappen. Jos's career was relatively unremarkable. He competed in 106 Grand Prix races and is probably best known for teaming up with Michael Schumacher and narrowly escaping death after being involved in a terrifying incident while refueling back in 1994. Jos is known in Formula One circles as Jos the Boss, and he has been closely involved in Max's F1 career. Jos has even built and rebuilt a number of Max's engines. Jos is known for being hard on Max when he needs to be, and in one incident, he reportedly kicked Max out of the family vehicle after becoming angry over what he perceived to be a very foolish crash on Max's part during an important racing event. When asked about his father, the young Dutchman had this to say: "He knew what it took to be a Formula One driver, and he always prepared me from a very young age to be ready for it. I think in our family, we are very focused on what we do, and I grew up like that." And when it comes to life off the track, you couldn't find two drivers more different than Verstappen and Hamilton. Verstappen avoids the limelight and, believe it or not, spends several hours a day playing video games. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has even talked about Verstappen's 14-hour video game binges in the past, while the older Hamilton, on the other hand, embraces the limelight and uses it for social activism. Stay tuned and don't go away, folks, because we're paddle shifting into high gear, and we got more Formula One action on the way. So, do Verstappen and Hamilton's different personalities clash on and off the track? Let's find out. In 2020, following the death of George Floyd, an African-American man who was publicly murdered on video at the hands of police officer Derek Chauvin, anti-racism and anti-police brutality protests literally erupted around the world. Hamilton couldn't help but use his voice to shine a light on the issue, and was vocal and highly critical of what he perceived to be Formula One's silence on the issue. In fact, during pre-race introductions, Hamilton made it a point to take a knee and urged fellow drivers to do the same. However, Verstappen was one of 6 drivers who chose to remain standing. Despite not taking a knee, Verstappen was adamant that he fully supports people's rights to free speech, and did say that he was opposed to racism. But on the track, Hamilton and Verstappen have clashed on numerous occasions. In fact, during the 2021 racing season alone, Hamilton and Verstappen have had 2 significant collisions. There was a high-speed collision at the British Grand Prix during the opening lap that saw Verstappen slam into the wall, and as a result, he was sent to a nearby hospital for a precautionary checkup. Hamilton would ultimately win the race, and when he did his victory lap, Verstappen was still in the hospital. To say the Red Bull team was upset by this would be an understatement. They were livid. So what can fans expect between Hamilton and Verstappen during the final races of the 2021 season? Let's find out. Knowing Hamilton and Verstappen Verstappen, the duel between these two drivers is about to get real, and sparks are gonna fly. And we've just talked about the British Grand Prix, but how could we forget about what happened in Italy? After a wreck, the world watched as Verstappen's car literally took flight and came dangerously close to smashing Hamilton's head. The only thing that saved Hamilton from serious injury or death was the halo bar directly above the cockpit. With anger and adrenaline coursing through his veins, Verstappen got out of his car and marched off madder than hell, without checking on Hamilton, who thankfully was alright. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff said, "A 50G impact or having a car on your head? Look, both walked away unharmed. That was the consequence, so fine, we move on." Wolff seems to think that we can expect a lot more fireworks in the coming 5 races, so grab your popcorn because things are about to get crazy. Wolff said if it comes down to Hamilton and Verstappen going head-to-head in the season's final race in Abu Dhabi, sparks will surely fly. Wolff said, "I would never give the instruction to crash into anyone else, but if they go to the last race and whoever is in front wins the championship, they will be racing each other hard." Verstappen has garnered a reputation as a fearless risk-taker who pushes himself, his car, and other drivers to the limit. That's why fans gave Verstappen the moniker Mad Max. And who could forget former F1 champ Kimi Raikkonen's comments about Verstappen, saying that the young driver would one day cause a massive accident. Back in 2019, while racing in Mexico, Hamilton himself said that Verstappen is a magnet for collisions. The debate rages on who was responsible for sending Verstappen in the wall at Silverstone. Some say it was Verstappen's own doing, while others are quick to blame Hamilton. Finally, what can we expect from the rest of the season? Truthfully, who knows? All we do know is that the rest of the season is going to be a fierce battle between two drivers who have proven time and time again that they are willing to lay it all out on the line. Daniel Ricciardo, who was once Verstappen's Red Bull teammate, said that Verstappen is wiser and more mature than he was a few years ago. Ricciardo too had some frustrating interactions with Verstappen while they were teammates. And who could forget when Verstappen called Hamilton a stupid idiot at the US Grand Prix and even flipped Hamilton the bird. Afterwards though, when the two calmed down, we saw them fist bump each other on the podium and toast with their champagne bottles. That's a wrap for today's videos, F1 fans. We can't wait to see the outcome of this explosive rivalry in the coming weeks. And before we peel out and speed away, don't forget to like and subscribe.